In normal fashion, like Callahan's Corner, I'm going to open up the screen here up top, which is actually already open. And I'm going to dive into the Service Autopilot user group area and literally go in and tackle some of the questions hanging out right inside the Service Autopilot users group here. So the first one here is John says, how are you guys handling a merchant fee? We have tags set up to pays by card or pays by check. The issues we're seeing if the customer typically pays by check then makes a payment through the portal. So I think what John here is looking at is really something that I would look at as a somewhat of a decent conversation that we want to look at. So Dylan, I'm sure you've got some input on this, obviously owning a multi-seven-figure lawn care business up in Sudbury, Ontario before exiting and joining the Simple Growth team. But traditionally, as we look at this in our consulting division, we are going to be looking at it in the mindset of, let's assume that everyone is paying by a credit card. And when we build out our actual budget for the year, we're going to assume that everybody is paying by credit card. So if you've got $1 million company, I would assume that you are going to incur about $30,000 of credit card fees. That is something that needs to be built into our costing structure. So we've got some pre-submitted questions, John, if you're watching the recorded version, that we're actually going to be able to break down and show you how this would be built into your revenue per man hour and your break-even cost. So, John, we'll dive into a little more detail there. But Dylan, any other thoughts around John's question here?
Yeah. I mean, it is a good question. I would definitely agree with you. Like, that should just be factored into the cost of doing business. The people that don't and are trying to like incorporate it into each quote, I see that become like a little bit of a burden for them and kind of just like become a hassle of like, hey, Susie, I'm about to send you a quote. Do you think you're going to be paying by credit card? Because if so, I'm going to add like a hidden 3% credit card fee to the estimate. But if you're not going to be paying by credit card, I'm not going to add it. Like, that just sounds like a bad customer experience, but two, just like a really bad workflow sort of. So especially if you're dealing with like primarily residential customers, I think it's a no-brainer to basically make it mandatory, like you said, that we all pay by credit card. And yeah, you're probably going to lose some customers because of that, but they're probably going to be a bit of a pain in the you know what anyways. So yeah, I mean, I would bake it into the price from day one. And then when you do raise your prices inevitably in future years, you don't need to like rebake it into the price, right? If we baked it into a $50, let's say our average mow is $50, and that incorporates a 3% credit card fee, and we're hitting our margins. Next year, if inflation's 5% and we raise the price of that cut 5%, whatever that comes to, 52.50 or whatever, that also is increasing based on like that credit card fee that was already baked in. So you don't need to like recalculate it. You do it once, and then all future price increases incorporate that, unless I'm not thinking about it correctly. So it's kind of like a one and done thing to incorporate that into your business.